Welcome to All About Everything, your channel for space.
On March 23, 2012, NASA Mission Control told the crew of the International Space Station in space on the radio that a lot of micrometeorites are going to collide with the ISS in 6 minutes. This radio message made a ruckus in the entire ISS. The astronauts had so little time that they could not even change the direction of the space station during this time. But the question is that in the part of space where the ISS is present, there are countless micrometeorites. So how does the International Space Station, i.e. ISS, survive these meteorites? How is this work done without fuel and without Earth to change the direction of the weighty ISS of 380 vehicles? How was a football field-sized ISS taken from Earth to space? And when the ISS is on the other side of the Earth, how is it contacted? Welcome to the All About Everything channel's videos again. The $150 billion or Rs. 12,375 billion worth house in the ISS is an example of a house that has not been found anywhere in history. Hundreds of high-tech parts have been installed to make it. There are 16 pressurized modules in it, in which different modules for living and sleeping, different modules for an observation deck, and different modules for 6 science labs are also included, which are all connected to each other through an airtight tunnel. Along with them, many spots in the ISS are still empty. In order to park some extra capsules, some of the ISS lifeboats are parked forever, so that if there is an emergency, these lifeboats can safely take the astronauts to Earth. The International Space Station is the largest space station ever built. An ISS as big as a football field is 400 km away from the ground, but it can still be seen from the ground with the help of binoculars. Or if you want to estimate its size from a real-life object, then assume that Burj Khalifa's bottom or its base is as wide as the International Space Station. The total weight of the ISS is 460,000 kg. This is the same weight as that of 380 cars or 25 passenger buses. But the question is, how did such a large and heavy ISS go into space? The ISS began with just 2 modules, and they were both connected to each other in space. One module was built by the United States and the other by Russia. After the collapse of the Soviet Union in 1992, the United States and Russia collaborated, and the 2 superpowers decided to build the International Space Station in space. First, Russia sent a module called Zarya into space, and then the United States sent its Unity behind it. Flying at a speed of 27,000 km per hour, Unity followed Zarya. On November 20, 1998, at 6:40 a.m., these 2 modules were connected to each other 400 km above the ground, and this is how the International Space Station was born. Since then, for the past 26 years, engineers from all over the world have joined together to build their own modules and sent them into space through rockets and connected them to the ISS. Today, apart from the United States and Russia, European and Japanese modules are also connected to the International Space Station. From the year 2000 to today, not a single day in the ISS has passed in which it has been empty. At all times, astronauts from any country are present in it. In the ISS, to meet the needs of astronauts, all the facilities are present that should be in any superstructure, in which oxygen is the most important. A person can live for 3 weeks without food, 3 days without water, and only 3 minutes without oxygen. Over 400 km from the ground, where there is no atmosphere or oxygen to breathe. The biggest challenge for the ISS is to provide fresh oxygen to the astronauts. An average person needs 15,000 liters or 22 kg of oxygen per day. For 9 astronauts living in the ISS, providing about 200 kg of oxygen per day is really a big challenge. Here, oxygen supply for astronauts for many days is present in the tanks so that, if the system fails, the oxygen supply from Earth to the rockets should be enough for the astronauts to survive. Today, technology has become so advanced that oxygen supply can be delivered from Earth to the ISS in just 6 hours, but only if the rocket launch is successful in that condition. This method is good, but it is very costly because a cargo rocket costs $200 million to go from Earth to the ISS. Food and other supplies are sent once in many months. But it is very difficult to use rockets again and again to meet the oxygen demand of 200 kg per day. That's why the ISS makes its own oxygen without dependency on Earth. It has a small machine that makes oxygen by using water. When electricity is passed through water, it breaks into 2 parts, hydrogen and oxygen. Hydrogen gas bubbles accumulate on the positive electrode, and oxygen gas bubbles accumulate on the negative electrode. Now, if this experiment is done on Earth, these bubbles automatically separate from the water because obviously, the weight of the gas is less than that of the water. But there is no gravity in space. The weight of the water is equal to that of the gas, that is, almost zero. So now, to separate the oxygen gas from the water, this machine is rotated in a circle, which creates a centrifugal force, which acts as an artificial gravity. Due to the rotation of the circle, the water goes to the sides, and oxygen gas is left in the middle, which the machine collects and puts in the container. Now here you must be thinking that if oxygen is made from water in the ISS, then where does the water come from in space? Even here, the great engineering shows its magic. In the same process, the hydrogen gas that comes out is reacted with the carbon dioxide gas that comes out of the astronaut's breath, and water is made again. And finally, methane gas is left, which is wasted in space. Making oxygen for the International Space Station is a very big challenge in itself, but the bigger challenge is to keep this oxygen safe. Because if there is a small leak in the space station, then the result can be very dangerous. In just a second, the space station will burst into pieces. The example of the recently destroyed Titan submersible is in front of us all. There is a lot of pressure in the sea, while there was controlled pressure in Titan. As soon as its solution leaked, the pressure in the sea compressed it badly in less than a second. But in space, it is the opposite. Here, the pressure outside is zero, while the pressure inside the ISS is maintained. Just like Titan, if there is even a small crack in it, it will decompress and burst. The height at which the ISS orbits the Earth, there is a lot of space debris here, which is rotating in space at a very fast speed. These include satellite parts and hundreds of small and large meteorites. So the question arises, how does the ISS protect itself from these meteorites? The International Space Station is orbiting the Earth at a speed of 27,000 km per hour. This is such a fast speed that if it flies at this speed, it can cross the Pacific Ocean in just 25 minutes. The same Pacific Ocean, which takes commercial planes 13 hours to cross. At such a fast speed, if it collides with a meteorite, it will be like a car crashing into a tree at a speed of 80. On March 23, 2012, NASA Mission Control radioed the ISS crew that some space debris was heading straight for the ISS. No one knew how big this debris was. They were told just 6 minutes ago. The entire crew immediately went on lifeboats, but fortunately, the space debris passed by the ISS without touching it. But the ISS can't be left to its fate against meteorites every time. To protect itself from small particles, the ISS was made of bulletproof material. Just as there are different layers in a bulletproof vest, the hull of the ISS was also made by mixing different layers. The outermost layer is made of aluminum, followed by a layer of woven material, followed by another layer of aluminum inside it. A single metal is not as strong as cutting the same metal and spreading it in 2 or more layers. Micrometeorites like sand grains are attacking the ISS at all times, but these are its bulletproof layers that have protected the ISS for the past 26 years. But what if a big meteorite comes in the way of the ISS? Not as big as the size of a car, but only 1 inch bigger. In this case, the bulletproofing of the ISS will be of no use. The mission control crew on the ground is already aware of the location and position of the upcoming meteorites. If this seems like a loss, then in this case, the entire ISS has to be removed from the way. The trajectory of the ISS can be changed by using the small thrusters in the ISS, but these thrusters run on rocket fuel, and this fuel is very less with the ISS, only for emergency purposes. To end the dependency on the Earth of the ISS, a mechanism has been installed in it that can easily change the direction of the 460,000 kg weighty ISS without using rocket fuel. There are small boxes in its center which are called control moment gyroscope or CMGs. But how do they change the direction of the bigger ISS like a football field? There are flywheels inside these boxes which spin at a speed of 6,600 RPM. Flywheels are like heavy round wheels, like the wheels of a train. When they are spun at a fast speed, angular momentum is generated in it. This momentum is transferred to the entire body of the ISS, and thus the entire ISS starts moving in one direction. If the flywheel is spinning very fast, then the direction of the ISS will change a lot, and the direction in which it is spinning, the ISS will also spin in the same direction. If the ISS has to spin in the opposite direction, then the flywheel is also spun in the opposite direction. These flywheels are rotated with the help of electricity, which generates the solar panels in the ISS. Speaking of solar panels, let me tell you that these solar panels are movable. Because the ISS is orbiting the Earth so fast that the sun rises here 16 times a day. And even when the sun is there, it shifts its position so fast that if the solar panels are fixed, then direct sunlight will not fall on them and they will not produce electricity properly. That is why these solar panels always keep their direction towards the sun. The solar panels in the ISS produce 120 kilowatt electricity at a time. This is enough electricity to run 110 air conditioners on Earth easily. Keeping in touch with astronauts at the International Space Station was also a big challenge for mission control. Communication is through radio signals. These signals cannot cross the Earth, and often the ISS is across the Earth. To solve this problem, the first aircraft was flown which caught the ISS radio signals and sent them to Houston for mission control. This method was costly and quite unreliable. Most of the time, contact with the ISS was disconnected for an hour until it reorbited the Earth and reached the range of mission control. But now this does not happen. With the advancement of technology and the help of high Earth orbiting satellites, the problem of communication has now been solved forever. Whenever the ISS has to contact mission control, first the satellite catches the signals, then the same signal is sent to the satellite network, and then whatever is in the satellite range relays the signal to Houston mission control. In this way, now with a few seconds delay, astronauts in the ISS can easily connect with their families. Scientists around the world have been trying to make the ISS self-sufficient, a space station that needs Earth as little as possible. For this purpose, many inventions have been made, but there are still many requirements that need Earth's help to meet, such as food, chemicals, spare parts, and crew shifting to filter water. Because an astronaut cannot stay in space for more than 8 months. to conduct various experiments at the International Space Station. Many labs are present, in which most experiments are done on the human body. The only purpose is that when humans go to Mars or deep space, what difficulties they may have to face. The ISS is only 6 hours away from Earth, but when humans go to Mars, there will be no Earth support, nor will the way back be so easy. We hope you will like and share this video.